What's good YouTube, it's your boy TSO Sage and I'm back with another video. Now today's video is all centered around answering one question. Is following one single player wherever he goes, rather than supporting a team, toxic? If you've watched my Toxic Types of Sports Fans video, you know I'm referring to this group as the followers. But yeah, this video is basically our followers toxic. And if they are toxic, how toxic are they?
Oh, but Sage, I already know they're toxic. You put them in your video.
Well, look at the crayon eater getting a little smarter. True, I definitely did believe that they were just undoubtedly toxic. But yesterday the squad got into an argument pretty much centered around this topic, and I'm not gonna lie, the followers in the squad actually made some good points. And at some point they were asking me to chime in, and at that point I was like, wait a minute, do a YouTube video on this. So in this video I'll be going over major aspects of fandom and basketball themselves, view them from fans who support teams and followers' perspectives equally, and hopefully we can come to a logical conclusion to determine whether followers are toxic or not, and if so, how toxic. And don't worry about bias. Yes, I'm a Lakers fan, but I really don't give a shit about what you like. But without further ado, if you guys like the video, don't forget to like the video, and let's get right to it. Let's start with a really heavy hitter in this whole argument itself, which is how you fell in love with the game in the first place. And this is where the followers do start off strong with a really good point. Most people, even people who support teams, fell in love with a player when they first started watching the game. A lot of the Laker fans you know fell in love with Kobe Bryant. A lot of the Heat fans you know fell in love with Dwayne Wade. And if you're a Celtics fan that fell in love with Ray Allen, that's just tough. Unless you're a follower and that's their point. If you fell in love with the Celtics entirely because of Ray Allen, what's wrong with you then saying, screw the Celtics, I'm a Ray Allen fan, so let me support him while he's on the Heat? Although that's a really short and simple-minded point, it is very effective. I don't know when it started, but it's almost subconscious in a lot of people's minds that you have to type a fucking paragraph or some shit just for your argument to seem valid. Hell, I see it every day. A lot of people who try to critique my videos in the comment section, or just simply hate, always try to do it in APA format or something, like, bro. And then it'd be sad because they'll type all of those things and then none of it makes sense. But the point of this video isn't to dunk on haters. The point is following the player who pioneered you into the game of basketball to a degree isn't toxic at all. However, and to transition to the team fans' point of view, all that's fine and dandy and everything, but why couldn't you pick up the team? If LeBron James is the reason you fell in love with basketball, cool, but you should be a Cavs fan or a Heat fan or even a Lakers fan if you're just now watching basketball. And how constant is your favorite player going to remain your favorite player? Unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated. So at some point, your favorite player is going to age. Your favorite player is going to retire. Or even a new outlier altogether, your favorite player is not going to be your favorite player forever. Because you can't tell me Steph Curry post 2015 didn't win a lot of fans over. So when you're supporting players rather than teams, you're really not supporting the game of basketball. You're dodging many aspects of the game as well, such as potential, team building, hardships. And besides all of these things from a moral perspective, how are you just supporting one guy? Like, is he your father or something? Get his dick out your mouth. So yeah, that's basically how that argument goes every time, but now let me talk about it from a neutral perspective. I'm not gonna lie, this specific segment right here, followers are down terrible. And it's not necessarily because of all the things the team fans said, but the points that team fans often say are close to it. If you're following a player because he made you fall in love with the game of basketball, I would just simply challenge if you love the game of basketball. Let's use LeBron for example, because who else are you thinking about right now? And let's even raise the argument for the followers' sake. Let's say you fell in love with the game of basketball, aka fell in love with LeBron James in the 2008-2009 postseason, in which he was amazing in the playoffs, didn't necessarily win the championship, but was also named the regular season MVP. And on top of both of those things, I'll give the followers this as well. Being told that you had to support a Dan Gilbert team, especially when you consider the way LeBron James left Cleveland, and when you also consider in this situation you just became a fan, that's just a matter of self-respect. Like, nah, you weren't forced to be a Cavs fan at that moment in time. But then you go to Miami, one of the best franchises in the league, can't adopt their culture, but then get this, you go back to Cleveland, the franchise you were literally holding your two fingers up saying, fuck y'all for disrespecting LeBron like that or not getting him help, yah, blah, blah, blah. You went back to them because LeBron James wants to win for them. That's just interesting, I'm not gonna lie. Then you go all the way to LA, and the team's not even good. Every time LeBron James left the franchise, it was because the team isn't good enough, but then he goes to a team that isn't good enough, and y'all are just like, fuck it. I'm not gonna lie, if you can't see how that's somewhat excessive, you have a problem. Again, I'm being neutral here, but god damn. And that's why I question if you love the game of basketball or if you just really have a man crush on LeBron James. I'm not saying you don't, but it's something to question. Because LeBron James has definitely brought great moments to basketball that I personally love him for. But I mean, to only appreciate the greatness of LeBron James is, again, interesting. Fortunately enough, enough, most LeBron fans aren't just terrible. I don't know too many LeBron fans that don't like Mo Williams, Eric Spoelstra, Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, and many other teammates of LeBron James. But if you're one of those guys that were about to type in the comment section,
Oh, well, I'm one of those fans. Fuck all of them.
I'm just gonna say it, you don't love the game of basketball, you just like LeBron James. But to move on, let me get into my final point of this segment, because for some of you that's not gonna be good enough,
Or even my bias was showing girl.
but something that was made extremely apparent last night, because this audio is recorded literally after the Super Bowl, and I always knew this, but I never knew it was this serious. But I'd say a good 85 to even 90% of LeBron fans are Tom Brady fans, and the other 10 or 15% are Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes fans. They also tend to be fans of Messi, Ronaldo, McGregor, hell, even translating back to the NBA. Most of your LeBron fans' second favorite player is either Giannis, Luka, or even Kevin Durant. If it's not extremely obvious what I'm trying to say here, it's one thing to claim that LeBron James made you fall in love with the game of basketball. It's another for you to consistently be a guy who picks and chooses the best player in each sport and just stand them to an absurd degree while you're like, ha ha, my team's better than yours. That's just a new level of toxic and cringy. Especially with Kevin Durant. I know a lot of LeBron fans who hate Steph Curry. In fact, the consensus is LeBron fans hate Steph Curry. But then to stand Kevin Durant shows me that when LeBron James retires, you're probably going to be a Kevin Durant fan, right? Simply because he'd be the new best player in the world to you. Again, I'm not saying you don't love the game of basketball, but that's interesting. Moving on from that segment though, we have another quick L for the followers, and that would be the sustainability of being a follower fan. I'm gonna keep this segment short because I pretty much said this in the last segment, but yeah, when the player you're following tends to, retire because they're going to one day, get worse because they're going to one day, or simply aren't even your favorite player anymore, what you gonna do? And who you select says a lot about you. If it just happens to be someone else you fall in love with that is potentially the best player in the world, that's interesting. Versus if it's someone that plays very similar to the player you were just rooting for, I'm not gonna lie, that's just consistent. Hell, even favoring someone that plays nothing like the person you previously favored, at least that's respectable because it's something new. But yeah, not gonna waste too much time on this subject because I low-key pretty much said it in the last segment, and there's really no other point of view to look at it from, because even followers concede this argument all the time. Oftentimes they talk about how they don't know what they're gonna do when their favorite player retires, and when the player regresses to a certain level, you don't hear much about him. A quick example so we can move on from here is how many Carmelo Anthony fans did you know 10 years ago, and how many do you know now? Now in this next subject, I'm not gonna lie here, the followers are onto something, and this subject is self-love. Starting from the team fans' point of view, most of them simply think anyone who's a follower just doesn't respect themselves as a human being. They just think you're on throat goat timing, and you're also a coward, because when you only choose to favor a player, as long as that player performs well, it's only so miserable you can be. Like if you're a Devin Booker fan, you really didn't give a shit about the Suns getting blown out because Devin Booker dropped 70. Things such as bad management, bad PR, terrible draft choices, and simply put, the amount of time you can be down bad. Because when a team is down bad, oh trust me, they can be mediocre for a really long time. A franchise being down terrible is often down terrible for a much longer time than the player is. And for you to avoid all those hardships, again, you're a coward. But if you look at it from the followers' perspective, I'm not gonna lie, you can't even really dispute what I'm about to say. Hell, even from a neutral perspective, at least them niggas know what they like. Is it a bit excessive to follow literally one single player out of the entire NBA? Sure. But in the grand scheme of things, what does that have to do with anything? If I only like the Bulls for Derrick Rose, and then Derrick Rose gets injured, why am I entitled to like the Bulls? I don't give a shit about Joakim Noah. I don't really fuck with Buser. I fucked with Derrick Rose. He got hurt. I don't like the Bulls anymore. I'm not gonna lie, for team fans to look at an established follower in the eye and be like, whoa, them's the breaks. I guess you gotta like the Bulls now. I ain't gonna lie, that's some Crayola shit. They're not real fans. Sometimes you guys even say real men because they don't inflict self-harm. I'm just gonna let that one sit. Like, is it somewhat of a cop-out? Yes, it is. But what the fuck does that have to do with you, my nigga? And lastly, in my opinion, certainly the least, we have standing your favorite team versus standing your favorite player, which I'm not gonna lie is a draw. I know everyone would comment this if I didn't talk about this subject, and the comment section would be flooded with,
Oh, you gotta talk about these LeBron fans. Or, oh, but you forgot about all the Laker fans who are annoying. Like you.
like me, nigga, fuck you. But obviously you're gonna have your followers who don't shut the fuck up about their favorite player, and you're gonna have your team fans who don't shut the fuck up about their favorite team. And if that player or team just happen to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time in their regimes, then yeah, they're gonna be really fucking toxic and annoying. Unless they fuse together, then everyone's fucked. But look, it's been a long enough video. Let me get to the final verdict. Basically, as it's been implied throughout this entire video, in the grand scheme of things, the sheer concept of being a follower really isn't that toxic. If you're a loyal follower and you follow the same player until he retires, you don't just stupidly praise him for every little thing he does. And fun fact, everybody, you can even appreciate other aspects of the game. Like, just because you favor a specific player doesn't mean you don't have eyes and can't acknowledge other players. Sure, they're copping out of hardship, and sure, it's quite clearly less sustainable than liking a team. But exactly why do you care so much about what someone else enjoys? Exactly, you really shouldn't. In fact, the only reason I kinda care, I guess, is because I like debating sports and debating rosters and other basketball teams, and it's kinda weird to only debate about a single player while I'm talking about an entire roster. But I don't really give a shit about what anybody likes because everybody's gonna say some stupid shit anyway. However, and it wouldn't be me if I didn't address the most toxic elephant in the room. Even though the concept of being a follower is not toxic at all, in my opinion, that doesn't then correlate to most of your followers not being toxic. Most of your followers are followers of arguably the greatest players of all time in their sport. Oh, I wasn't talking about just one player. That wasn't just a shot at LeBron or Jordan fans. I'm talking Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Conor McGregor, John Jones. They'll even stand players they don't even watch. Motherfuckers talking about some Bryce Harper and Mike Trout, Lionel Messi, Ronaldo. And it's no coincidence whatsoever that their favorite 5 players almost mirror your top 5 players. And then to elevate it to a new level, they're just so toxic about the players they like. And the players they like are already so fucking good.
LeBron shot 0 of 80? Really? Sabotage. They must have put a magnet in the ball.
Fair enough, I agree. If LeBron James shot 0 of 80, there probably is some shit going on. But you get my point. If they follow or tend to love the best players in the sport, don't know how to shut the fuck up about them, and blame anything and everyone but that player when they fail, it's a good chance they don't even know about the sport they're talking about. And it's undisputable here, but let's just be honest. If 2 people walked up to you, one is a Cavs fan, the other's a LeBron fan. If you had to guess who's the casual, who would you guess? Like, come on now, you're saying the LeBron fan every time. So in conclusion, I'd love to be like, there's 2 things, a follower and then a dickhead. But the problem is most of your followers are dickheads. Like, I can confidently say I haven't met 10 follower fans who don't piss me off every time I talk about basketball with them, and aren't a new level of defensive and cringy whenever you talk about that player. And even less if you add the factor of, do they even know basketball for real? In a perfect world, in the grand scheme of things, they're not, but that's not the world we live in, bro. Fuck the followers. Unless it's on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram too. But that's gonna do it for today's video. It's been your boy TSO Sage. I know this video wasn't exactly popular, probably ain't gonna do shit in terms of numbers,
And I know it wasn't toxic all the time.
but it's just something I wanted to talk about. I don't know why, but I really did.
Oh, Sage, don't doubt yourself. I hate when you do that. The video's gonna be fine.
Oh, thank you, bitch. With all that being said, if you guys like the video, like the video. If you like my content, subscribe. Why the fuck you watching my shit and you're not subscribed? And it's been your boy TSO Sage. I'ma holla at y'all later. Take care and stay blessed.